Let's try that. Is it better? That's a little bit better, right? Awesome, thank you, finally. Not sure what that was all about. The only thing literally I did was restart OBS. That's literally the only thing I did. And it started working. And I haven't changed any setting that I can think of since last streaming. So shit, I have to do my intro again. We have to scramble to get this right. Okay. All right, that was weird and awkward, but here we are. We got back in business. My booming tech skills got us out of the rough patch and onto a wicked live stream with y'all, between me and y'all. Today is April the 28th. It is Sunday. Glad that so many of you cared to join me. I decided that today was a good day to give the gnome some rest. Loftar has been with us for what was it? We talked about it last stream. It was like the past 4 streams or something. But I figured we'd give him some rest today, some R&R, some well-earned R&R. And so y'all gonna have to make do with me today. I have a couple of things on the agenda today that we're gonna do. First of all, we're gonna play some while I talk about the agenda, and then I figured we might do some modeling. And also, I have a new fun segment that I thought I'd introduce to y'all, which is called Let's Start Whittling Away at the Jorb's Forum Suggestion, Critique and Ideas Thread Backlog. So that could be fun. We can all together read some well-crafted suggestions from the ye grand old suggestion box. Have a look at those, and look at some well-crafted suggestions together, and talk about them, and laugh at them, and we'll consider them all. So that is my plan for tonight, and then maybe do some modeling. There's always a new hat to be done, but I also figured we could look at something perhaps a little bit more interesting. Another thing, says Zented69, that you're definitely going to do today is show us the process of changing the pavement minimap textures, right? We could do that if you want to. If that's what your heart's desire innermost, then we could look at that. We could look at a couple of them at least, if that's what you really want. I'm also open. We're obviously also going to just shoot the breeze and talk trash and play the game a little bit and ask questions and whatever y'all are up for. So this is going to be our home. I decide we'll start out building a home around this little thing here. So we're currently working on something bigger, and that's a lot of fun. I'm not going to say that it's seasons, but it may be seasons. So it's a fair bit of work. And hypothetically, if it were seasons, we oh my god, take the pine cones and replant. That's true, I should do that. This is a nice little feature that we added. Oh right, we need a shovel for that. Well, the tree's got to go if we're going to get a shovel. So. Yeah, so like hypothetically, I'm not saying we're working on seasons, but hypothetically, if we were working on seasons, that would be a lot of work. And one of the things that is obviously, lands heavily on my table, in the very hypothetical case that we are indeed working on seasons, is the tree model. Maybe I should make a better job of actually introducing the stream and what we're actually up to at all. My name is Björn, and I'm one half of the dynamic duo behind a game called Haven Hearth, which is the game that we're currently playing. And this is a game of freeform building, survival, crafting, permanent death, all that kind of good stuff. So, and it's an MMO, so there are other people playing this game with me, at least. It's me and about 20 odd bots playing the game. So, me and the 20 odd bots are having a lot of fun playing this game, and I'm the one developing it for the 20 odd bots also playing it. And yeah, so the thing that lands heavily on my desk is, of course, the tree model. The tree model. Ooh, the glorious tree model. A lot can be said about the tree model. All the trees in Haven are, in fact, handcrafted. This is a decision that was made kind of by default. It was not ever really an active decision. It was more that when we started working on it, I was obviously fumbling around trying to, create some decent looking trees. One of the first ones actually is one of the first ones I made is the spruce. I'm still kind of happy about that one. It's this one. I still think it looks pretty decent. Other three trees that I'm less happy about include the maple tree. The maple tree should arguably just be redone entirely. But what are we building? We built ourselves a container, at least. That's good. We can store all our nonsense in. We'll build another container. You can never have too many containers. We're going to start working on a palisade right away, and a claim. We're going to claim right away, and we're going to work on a palisade. Make a spruce cap, biatch, says Sabinata, and we're going to do that, of course. That's a great idea. It's always a good, worthy first project. But so, yeah, all the trees are handcrafted by yours truly, and they consist, generally, we'll go look a tree up. I'll show you the source file for a tree, for all the trees. We'll go look at the trees, boys. We'll go look at the trees, and I will show you all the stuff that I am talking about. So, but first we're going to make a spruce cap, really set the tone for the stream, really show us what we're all about. We are, in fact, spruce capping it up here live on the Jorb stream. We are spruce capping it up. Hashtag fact. Hashtag. There we go. Remove hunger, says Puas69. Boom. Here you can see I've been doing the model for the glorious cider barrel. Cider was added in a recent patch. I thought that was a good idea. Having a bit of a sniffle, I have been having. A bit of a sniffles with me nose. I've been having a little sniffle in me nose. There's a lot of pollen right now, and every year I think to myself, maybe I'm growing a little pollen allergic. But every year I also kind of find myself thinking, it was probably just a cold. Could a spring cold be a thing? Is it a thing? I don't really know. But like every year around this time, I seem to recall having a minor bout of cold. And every year I think, maybe I have a bit of a pollen allergy. Because there's a lot of pollen fluttering about here in sunny Sweden. We've had great weather. Really, summer's starting early here, which I really enjoy. The winter is long and dark and awful. So Loftar is of a contrary opinion on that. Loftar is code word, the nom de guerre, for my partner in crime on this game, namely Frederick, who is the aka code gnome, aka Tenacious L, aka Kärt barn har många namn, as you would say in Sweden. A beloved child has many names. So what tree did I want to show you? Here they all are, all in a big fat list. So we can look at any tree that you want to see. Korean symbols. Firefly 7544 says, "How do you think make gas mask for Cash Hat?" That's a good idea, but I've been a little reluctant to add masks since it's been hats explicitly. I have several good hat or mask ideas that I've kind of turned down on account of them being hats rather than. So this is the maple. This is also one of the earliest trees that I did. I don't think it has the actual texture that it uses right now, but as you can see, it's just a mess. It's just a mess. It's just a complete mess of planes displaying And this is a little nicer, where the planes are actually sensibly placed. But this is just a mess. When I remake this, I'm going to throw this model right out and just redo it properly. But yeah, so as you can see, perhaps Mayflower tree, Medlar tree is an okay tree. As you can see, if we were to, let's make a copy so that we don't fuck anything up, remove all the materials, we can actually now see the transparency is properly set and shit. And as you can see, better than what you did with oak and birch. You don't like that model? The oak and birch are special because they use a bit of a blobby cloud type look for the tree. Both of them were early trees, so both of them were like experimenting with various tree models. Apple tree is also kind of interesting because it actually uses a programmatic effect to achieve, I believe, if I recall correctly. And yeah, it's just a mess there as well, so should probably redo that one as well. But where were we? Medlar. Was that the one we were derping? Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, delete that. There are a couple of things that go into this. So the tree has a couple of properties. Obviously, you need to be able to fell the tree. So for that reason, the tree is subdivided into, let's see if we can select all the, we need the trunk, and we need the top pulp. No. Bottom. There, no. Deselect. Select. There we go. And maybe the fruit as well. There we go. So as you can see, there are two distinct parts here, namely the trunk part containing the foliage, the fruit, the actual trunk, and the top kind of cut off piece, and the bottom part, which is the stump that it leaves behind. So basically we have then a couple of things that go into making a tree are A, the leaf texture, B, the trunk texture. It has a texture for the trunk, as you can see here. We can look at the texture itself over here, if you can actually see it for the chat and everything. Here we go. And there we go. That's what that looks like. So we have that texture. We have the trunk. We have the separation into the trunk, the stump, the foliage, blah, 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 blah. And we have the foliage texture, optionals like fruit and stuff like that, if the tree has that, or flowers. Some have flowers. So hypothetically, let's say we were to do seasons, we would need to extend the tree model. And the thing that I envision us having to do then, because we need to have transitions from winter to spring to summer to fall to winter again. So we need to then, presumably, I'm thinking, like, have 1 or 2 or 3 leaf foliages, pieces of that we add gradually as the spring progresses into summer. Summer, the tree has the full foliage. For fall, the trees need to turn red-ish, red and yellow hues, and gradually fall off. So those are kind of the things that I would need to do and go through and do for like almost every tree in the game. Poas69 says, can you share with us your use of peyote? I've actually never tried peyote, so I don't have an experience to share. Maybe when I'm older, I'll delve into the wonderful world of the peyote cactus a bit more, but recently I haven't done that. So that's what would be required of me on the fall, spring leaf tree front, and that obviously raises the question, would one really realistically long term be happy with a handcrafted tree model, or does one more rather want something more auto-generated, like a tree model that, for example, there's a lot you could do. Like theoretically, I could envision algorithms to generate, even the textures programmatically I could certainly envision generating, and I think, I mean, there's a thing called Speed Tree, which I think a lot of games use, that basically it's just a program that generates trees, and I think a lot of professional games use Speed Tree to generate their games. Not sure how that works with instancing of the 3D geometry. That's actually one of the biggest problems that I've seen, or I could have imagined with it, but not sure how that actually works. But it certainly, assuming that wasn't an issue, you would at least, assuming performance wasn't an issue, famous last words, it could at least provide a lot of variance to have the trees be auto-generated, and I could see doing that for a lot of things, but including the branches, the trunk, the everything, all that could be auto-generated presumably, or random generated. But it would also require a lot of work to develop that algorithm to generate the trees, and I'm not sure if that is worth the time or the effort, or if it's more worth the time and the effort to actually just, because right now I'm, hypothetically, again, if we're doing seasons, I'm actually going to just go in and do the work. So that's where we're at right now, and I don't mind that. That's fine. It's not that much. It's like, what is it, like 60-ish odd trees in the game. I shan't complain too much, but a boy can dream. I think like a progressively generated tree model could, I think, add a lot long term if you wanted to have more variance and such in nature. So we're going to get our little settlement going here with a chair. Everyone needs a chair, and we're also going to make a shovel to replant the pine that we so brutally cut down. How do y'all like the planting of these seeds directly, by the way? It's Zented69 says hire Filipinos. That's funny. Zunzon says, do you have plans to extend your team? Maybe, I don't know. Right as it is, Haven, we scratch by, we make a living sort of from Haven, which is really cool. Most games most game developers, I think, can't really say that. And we had a great reset, and the months after the reset have been great, so we're very grateful for that. But I'm not sure we can support another person. On the other hand, maybe we don't need to actually support another person fully. Maybe we could just have someone help us out a little bit and maybe throw them a bone or two. We're not entirely foreign to the concept, but I think what we would want to do in that case is to bring aboard most likely some friend of ours, someone who we actually know, and someone who can communicate properly in the language of the gods, i.e. Swedish. So, because that's what we do, and I find that if we would have to communicate, and also someone we don't have to know over the internet. When we did Salem, we did a lot of outsourcing work, and let no shadow fall upon anyone we were working with. Everyone was great and doing their job as best as they could, but I found that there were a lot of intrinsic problems with doing outsourcing and working over the internet with people rather than working with them face to face. The latency was really terrible. You could find, I'd give some instructions because we mostly had help with graphics work. So I'd give some instructions on like what we wanted, and then we'd get something back, and I'd missed something in the description, or something that was obvious, I thought was obvious, was not, and we'd get something, kind of not what we wanted back, and then we'd have to spend a lot of time going back and forth, iterating on that, small mistakes like that, that could easily have been avoided had we been sitting in the same room from the get-go to be able to talk it through from the beginning. Omoy says, is char freezing still a thing in Salem? I don't know what you mean by char freezing, and I can't claim to know. I haven't really been keeping up to date on Salem too much. My understanding is that there is a bit of a development hiatus on Salem, but can't really claim to know. I haven't been following it. It's funny, when when we started working on Salem, I had the image in my mind that I was totally going to keep up with Haven, and we were still going to do, while we were working on Salem, we were totally going to keep up with Haven, and we were not at all going to abandon it, and blah, blah, blah. And when we went back to Haven, I was like, because I was kind of excited about Salem then at the time still, like there, you know, we'd been working on it for a long time, so I cared. But, and then I was like, I'm totally going to keep up with Salem, you know, going to read all the update posts, have opinions, you know, be active, but I just don't have the time, or there's not enough time in the day, and I have trouble. Maybe this is my limited, you know, mental capacity, my boomer mental capacity speaking, but I have trouble, you know, keeping all of Haven in context. So keeping 2 MMOs of significant scope and context at the same time is a bit much for me, at least. So, and I find when I try to, I find I get them confused and blah blah blah. So, but yeah, Lyric says Salem was nice. Yeah, I agree. Salem was nice. Ardance TV, thoughts on the fact that an entire village just quit because of your terrible whale combat mechanics, getting them all killed. Ooh, ouch! Shots fired. No thoughts on that, really. No. I don't know. Was there anything new there? I mean, what happened? The whale killed their boat? Whales have attacked boats since day one. So we haven't really, there's nothing new in that. I don't know what you changed in your hunting tactics to make you actually succumb to the whale. That being said, I could probably be tempted to Ardance TV, I don't even live. I think it's fucking dumb that a whale will bash a Knar instead of the 4 players hitting it. Well, I don't know. I'll say this. You know, the whale fighting mechanic is most likely not optimal, but if the fact that animals can ever score a win against you is enough to make you quit, then I question your loyalty. Kidding. No, it's just in that case, like, can the animals never win? Can the animals never ever have a win? And if they ever have a win, you know, you quit or whatever. I don't know. That being said, I can certainly see a case for improving the whales fighting mechanics in several ways. One of the things, someone had complained to me about this. Kirshati says the animals don't pay for hats and subs. That's true, but I don't know. I don't think that's a great argument, though, Kirsha. I mean, we shouldn't. I don't know. Should we base our game design decisions on? I'm not defending like the whales fighting mechanic per se. I agree that it's probably not that great. I mean, when we developed it, we did so under time pressure, as we always do. What I think would be more fun is if the game had, or the whale had more of a well thought out, like mini boss-ish type fighting pattern, where it would occasionally hit the players and occasionally hit the boat and occasionally do area of effect attacks. And I've made a note of that in a development document. So we're going to look at that. You complain when people cheese animals, yet whales are guaranteed to kill anyone who doesn't cheese them. I mean, seriously. Well, critiques are hot and heavy tonight. Well, I mean, again, I'm not going to go on record and like super defend the whales fighting mechanic as the most interesting thing ever. And that's an interesting balance. Like, okay, so if we make the animals too hard, then cheesing becomes more of a thing. If we make them too easy, then that's not fun either. They should arguably be dangerous. So I don't know. There's a lot that could be said there, and I'm tempted to agree that the whale could have a more fun mechanic. Ardance TV says, wow, Ardance, man, you're angry tonight. Take all this anger, take it into your heart, brother, and refocus it into happy thoughts, happy, positive thoughts. There's no balance, you fucking spruce cap. There's one reason whales should bash the boat of players that they can reach during a normal combat relation. I disagree. I think it's fun if they do okay. Oh, we're freaking starving. We need to get some food. Get some food, boys. I disagree. I think it's fun if the whale attacks the boat. So that's me. But But that being said, I'm tempted to, if it just smashes it in 4 hits, that sounds a bit over the top. So that I'll concede. So not sure about that, and I made a note to have a look at it. And I agree it would be more fun if the whale had more of a mixed attack pattern, so that it didn't only solely attack the boat. And I agree that you should probably have some sort of a fighting chance against it. And I agree that it's not much fun if you have to draw it into a cheesy trap in order to be able to fight it. But I don't know, like, given that being able to fight it is kind of, by players' way of thinking is kind of determined by players auto winning. I'm not sure there's a being able to fight it that is a happy medium between the whale being impossible to kill outside of cheesing and the other extreme. So basically, I'm just working here. Oh. Can we ever have a chance to get Mist Hat? It's selling for kind of like $400. We've been going back and forth on this. There's no, stated this before, I'll say it again, there's no, we're never going to reprint them policy. We don't have anything like that. We may bring them back at some point, but we're also kind of, wary of the secondhand market price, and we don't want to just dump the secondhand market price. So if we were to do something like that, we would do so after having had a proper discussion about it on the forums, allowing the community, or much valued community, to have opinions about any suggested changes that we may or may not make. But it's not really on our super high on our agenda. It's not. I'd rather do new takes on old hats. Is something I've said before, and I'll say that again. We found a corpse. We found a corpse, boys. We're gonna bury it. So yeah. They wanted to fairly kill a whale. Okay, so would you accept a scenario where the whale killed one of them? Would that be fine? Could that be a thing? Because I'm not sure. Should there? I don't know. Fairly killing a whale. It's intended to be one of the toughest creatures in the game. If you go up against it with no risk involved, fairly killing it, I don't know. Is that fun? Is that good? Can the animals never ever be allowed to score a win? What do we need to build a grave? I don't have. Do I need stone working? Or yeah, it's stone working. Get stone working. Whales don't pay the bills. Okay, that's we went over that argument. And I agree that if the whale just smashes the boat in 4 hits without clear visual communication, probably that is what it's doing, then that's probably not the best game design. So yeah, Zented69 says maybe instead of drowning instantly, a sunk Gnar should spawn random amount of raft-like boats that could potentially lead a player to safety. Yeah, I've been thinking about that as well. It's pretty retarded as it works right now, that when you smash a Gnar, it just vanishes into thin air. Arguably, there should be a listing animation, of the Gnar kind of going down and stuff and business like that. And what you say is a good point as well, that maybe it could leave some flotsam behind that you could maybe cling on to with your character to maybe survive the ordeal. So +1 on Zentit69's comment there. I thought that was a good idea. I'll make a note of that even. Here we go. Let's see. See, I already wrote about this. Consider whale fighting behavior. Knar sinking animation. Bodies floating in ocean. Flotsam. I listen. I take the insights of the community and try to distill them into actionable points. We got to get a drying frame going. We need more string. We need more food. We don't want to be focusing too much on the grave building project. String and food, boys. I'm just gonna forget about putting it there if I leave it. Can I? Yeah, we're living right here, so that's easy to remember. Will you make realm cairns without coronation stones hand bashable instead of requiring challenge? Yeah, that's a good one as well. Bashable cairn stone. Although a bit limited in applicability. Because, I mean, usually I don't think the scenario... Hey, someone left a drying frame. That means we can get our... Hey, how nice of someone. We can get our hearth fire going. Laser says, Pew says, why no buffer for satiations? Because we haven't been able to think of an elegant way of doing buffers for satiations. So that's the reason, for better or worse. Pretty much, because if you had buffers for them when you're clean, you'd have a clean sheet would be like a satiation list that's full of entries, a food satiation list full of entries at like 150% or whatever. So Avu, first of his name, says, I gave you an elegant way, of course you ignored it. Fuck you, Avu. Fuck you, boy. Fuck you, boy. There's such a smug attitude on the cat. Okay, you gave me a great way. Please, I missed it. I'm sorry. I suck. Please send me the elegant way again, and maybe I'll consider your elegant way. Fuck you. Can you say the F word on Twitch? Or is that not allowed these days? I have a hard time keeping up. Fun story, true story. The law in Sweden these days, I don't want to get too political with y'all, but the law in Sweden, since I think the turn of the year, is that you can no longer be mean to people. This is not the actual wording, but you can basically, the law against hate speech has been included to now include people of what the exact formulation is, like really, really dumb. It's something like people of gender cross-dressing identity, something, gender transgressing identity, something like that. And you can no longer express denigrating attitudes about such people. And I would never do that. I have only love for people with psychological issues, and I think the real joke is, a society that imagines that psychological issues should be treated with surgery. I think that is laughable and evil. So, Nforg says, for challenging as well, can we get a way to find enemy coronation stone, maybe using authority, maybe like a realm ability? Because finding the coronation stone is difficult. Don't you always know where the enemy's like main kingdom is? Isn't where the coronation stone, is that really that difficult to find? We're gonna try to catch some magpies, boys. Send PM because you don't read the forums. That's true, actually. It's a damn shame, but we're gonna work a bit on that later. Oh Lord, the spruce cap. Oh God, the spruce cap, y'all. They can be hidden easily, says Dakin. Fuck. Can I dash and take this one? Oh, I had no time to react, poor thing. Will of the Wisp says physical treatments have been used in treatment of psychological issues outside of gender dysphoria. Okay, we're not going to get too deep into this, but what I will say is that there was a time when homosexuals were treated with electroshock therapy. Today, that is considered brutal and barbaric by most people. I'll leave my own opinion out of the discussion, but I'm just saying that, you know. And also, like, lobotomy was for a long time a very serious, considered a perfectly legitimate treatment, and I'm glad that that is no longer the case. Journey75 says, thanks for being so available. Glad all my suggestions are being taken to heart. You're welcome, Journey. I try to, but obviously, as we shall see, we have a pretty big backlog on the forum. Scuzzy says, how come we don't have staves or walking sticks yet? My shaman needs a beating stick. What would be what would you use it for? What would be the use case for a walking beating stick? Nomad Mystic Scholar Credo Picks have staves. That's actually true. That is true. And I agree that a stave would be cool. I'm just not sure what you would actively have it for. Walk speed enforcement. That's interesting. I'll consider that. That might be a reasonable use. Shepherd's Crook allows wielder to walk through tamed animals when not in combat. I see what you're doing there. You're trying to upset the integrity of the bounding box, sir. We don't take lightly to upsetters of the bounding box around here. We like you to be contained, shall we say, within the bounding box that God gave you, that God created you within. And if you're not happy about your bounding box, I think it would be wrong of you to try to use surgery to alter it. I don't think that's actually going to alter your bounding box. I think it's better for you to try to accept the bounding box that you have and be contained within it. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you... Didn't I build a drawing frame? Didn't I? No, I didn't. At the end of the day, you know, if you remove all identity, then nothing, then you also remove all meaning. And I don't think that's a good idea. Exero SP says, Norgott, Bregott, or Lätta. Margarine is trash, bro. You want butter. Margarine is trash. So I wouldn't... If I have to eat one of those nasty things, I'll go with Bregott. Because he's inquiring about various brands of Swedish margarine. And I'm going to go with Bregott on that one. That's what we've always used that. We've always used that in my family. Where I come from, we've always used the Bregott. We ain't never used nothing but the Bregott. And certainly not freaking Lätta. That shit's disgusting, bro. That's just disgusting, bro. Lätta, it's like low-fat trash thing. Whoa, yuck. Ooh. It's like all these, what is it, unsaturated, disgusting palm oils and all kinds of nonsense. It's just, garbage. Such garbage. When you can eat, you know, pure, wholesome, the way God intended it, kind of butter. You know, why would you bother with industry processed shit? It's the same thing. You can't get, like, for the life of me, it is illegal in Sweden to sell unpasteurized milk. It's so dumb. I can't even let's pretend that it's actually dangerous, which of course it is not. You know, why would mama cow give baby cow dangerous things? You know, that's just dumb. It's very, very good and very healthy for you. But you can't get it in Sweden because the only thing you can get is this, you know, white, you know, sludge that they brand as milk, but it's actually just some boiled to unrecognizability byproduct of milk. But you can't get the real thing. So Jagens asks, if Bregott came with branding deal to you to add their products to game, would you accept it? Depends. We would have to negotiate a deal. Depends on how much shekels you're paying me to put it into the game. What would even do? You would take like linseed oil or something equally disgusting and mix it with butter to get margarine, and that way you can spread it easily over your sandwich, and that's about the only selling point the disgusting thing ever had. Dakan says, "I'll mail you some milk." Thank you, sir. Doing God's work there. God bless you, sir. You are a hero to the food freedom community, to food freedom everywhere. Actually, I think it's a kind of an important point. I also, since we're on the topic, I want to take this opportunity to really speak out against, Beyond Meat and all that kind of disgusting shit. It's just, these lab-grown, plant protein, soy-based trash, foods that, big tech and big agro are trying to push on innocent people who don't understand better. I think it's just tragic. I think it's to me, it's also a part of like the global New World Order control scheme of trying to, basically own everyone and have everything, compartmentalized and cartelized into nice, easily manageable little boxes of people, basically people living in their little slave boxes and being controlled by 10 humongous corporations that own everything. And I think when you're no longer, you're off the land, you're no longer a small holding farmer like God intended you to be. God damn it, I suck. You are beholden to these large, disgusting companies, Kraft, Unilever, Tyson Foods, whatever they're called. And those are the guys, together with, Big Agro, Monsanto, all that crap, those are the guys who are selling you the Beyond Burger disgusting burger, which is not a burger, which is based on like pea proteins. Pea proteins. It's not food. That is not meat, sir. It's not good for you. I wouldn't eat that. Zented69 says, "Be honest, not judging. Are you wearing eyeliner?" No, sir, I am not. I have not worn makeup since, I don't know, a more confused age in high school, when I was trying to be cool and alternative. I used makeup a couple of times, but it was never really my thing. How do you feel about lab-grown meat? Or did I miss that? I think you missed that. I'm not sure if you're pulling my leg here. Pulling my leg! I'm not sure if you're trying to make fun of me. Literally growing tissue. It's disgusting as fuck. It's growing it, and it's exactly the same. Yeah, if you cut your bounding box off, you're going to be a woman. You'll be a real pretty woman if you do that. No. Can't fool me. No, I don't like that at all, no. So what were we doing? We were looking for food. We found some chickens. That's good. And we were looking for string. So we found some of that as well. Let's try to talk a little less about me being crazy and XOSP says, "Yeah, I'm letting my Norgot thaw right now. My parents always insisted on Letta because it's cheap, but Norgot and Begot just rips my bread apart." Right on. Never really considered the price issue. I have not. Journey75 says, "With the new client rewrite, would water-based gates and thus fish farming be considered?" What extent the use of fish? I don't really like the idea of being able to build on water. I like the idea of being able to terraform water, but I'm not sure about the idea of actually terraforming water. Holy Cow says, "Why are you wearing a hat inside?" Actually, because of a bad hair day, so just drop it. And because I have a window open, because it's kind of it's going to get hot in here because I'm here, and have you even seen me? And but at the same time, I have a window open, so it's going to be a little chilly draft coming from the window. So I'm trying to temperature regulate. I have my little trusty sweater here as well. It's a little bit back and forth on that. Athenor says, "Is there a Mrs. Jorb or a Mrs. Loftar yet?" I'm gonna. There's a Mrs. Jorb, yes. There's not a Mrs. Loftar yet, but might happen sooner than you imagine. Man, but I think the client rendering rewrite is. I've said this before. I recall distinctly saying this like during the September stream or something. I bet it's close now, boys. We're getting there, but I think we may actually be kind of getting there. So, hoping for the 2-year mark of beginning work on the client rendering rewrite thing. Really hoping for that, and that would be in May. So, can we see progress of this rewrite? It's fun with a lot of the technical rewrites of that kind is that progress is defined by no change at all. So the client rewrite is finished when there's not a pixel's worth of difference between what we have now and what we want to have. So, I mean, progress is the client not crashing. Progress is what you see here. So we're trying to get back to what we already have when we're doing this rewrite, or when Loftar is doing that rewrite. So progress is a bit hard to illustrate here. But I think there are like 2 semi-major items remaining. If there's no difference, then we'll get no FPS game. Well, you know, the difference being the FPS, of course. That would be one thing that would be different. So that's the... Zented69 says, any thoughts on breeding insects or more industry to push quality of all the hundreds of curios that are now completely useless at this point? Hadn't really thought about it per se, but I've thought about it for some insects. Like, I've thought about it for the grubs. It would be reasonable. Those are not curiosities, so perhaps the ones you're least interested in. But it would be reasonable if those ate stuff. Laser says, Pew says, will seasons reseed Q nodes? No, I don't think. Or do you want them to, or are you concerned that they will? Or I see no necessary connection between quality nodes and seasons. So, I don't know. Should they? A bug collection LP is determined by combination of insects. That's pretty good, actually. We'll write that down. Bug collection LP determined by combination of insects. That's a good suggestion. I like that one. We'll consider that. Vigilance 303A says, hey, Brooder Bona, have you put any thought into bad dungeon mechanics, i.e. infinity spawning spawner bats in the dungeons, ant keys being unintuitive? Agree that ant keys are being unintuitive. The infinity spawn rooms, I think we could discuss. I think the infinity spawn rooms are really the only rooms that are legitimately kind of difficult to get through. I think most other rooms in a dungeon, if you can just grind away at them or grind them down, you would close out pretty much any dungeon more or less solo. Whereas you have to kill all the bats at one point rooms are actually somewhat difficult to solo. So I'm not inclined to removing them because that would increase the level of solo play in the dungeons, and they were kind of intended as a collective effort. So, but I agree that the ant key rooms are a bit, I think I made a note of that somewhere. Ant key rooms are terrible. There we go. Like way down in the list. There's a small note about it. So much shit. Small fixes. Move that one up. Variable curiosities based on ingredients is a good idea. How do you think? Yeah, that could be a good idea. It's a broad statement. Athenor says, will seasons affect the cave levels at all? No, I don't imagine they would. Laser says, Pew says, I want them too. Makes the world fresh, allowing for exploration even after worlds start. Said in regards to what? Right. You want them to. You want them to reset. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Why not? Maybe they should. At least some of them could be reset. What does chat think about that? What do you think about resetting Q nodes by any mechanic, really? Seasons or whatever, what have you. Maybe have bears in caves in winter. That's a good one too. Yeah, definitely a lot of the animal behaviors could be affected by it. It's a very gradual thing. Like, hypothetically, let's assume we were working on seasons. I would imagine that we would make a very bare bones implementation of seasons first, and then kind of gradually add to it, because you can do a lot with it, and you can do very little with it. So, I mean, on the top end of the scale, I mean, we could give basically every herb a seasonality indicator to like indicate when during the year they're available, and do the same for animals, and have a million different varieties of animals for the different seasons. And jury is also kind of out on how much the temperature should matter, because there are issues like, okay, so let's say you start a character in winter, does the character automatically freeze to death? So maybe he gets to have like a noobish warmth type buff that allows him to ignore his first winter or something like that. But yeah, there are a lot of issues to consider with the season. Is anyone ever gonna want to play during winter, or is it much like real winter that you kind of just try to suffer through it, hide away in your home and try to suffer through it? Please no reset Q nodes. Dirt shouldn't just pick up and move. Well, maybe not dirt, but herbs, animals. Animals could be migrating. And bug collector credo, says Scented 69, that makes bugs more visible, old bugs better somehow, maybe adds some ability to push bug quality. Yeah, maybe we could consider that. Bug collector, entomologist, credo. Don't hate that. Ooh, another thing that I wanted to talk with you guys about is I bit the bullet and read through the Berserk manga. I've been in a Berserk entomologist, I think that's how you spell that. I've been in a Berserk kind of spell recently. Started with me watching the Golden Age arc movies that they did in 2013-ish. So I watched those two, which are basically a retelling of the anime from 97 to something, and which in turn is just a retelling of the first couple of chapters of Berserk, basically, of the manga. So today I finished issue 39 of the manga. So I've read through the entire manga, and it's pretty good. There are a lot of things. there are a couple of things that are pretty retarded about it. XRSP says, "Oh man, it said that they only release a chapter per year. Is it even that? Isn't like one chapter every other year or something?" But yeah, that's really sad. And I was also, what was I going to say? Yeah, it's a bit of a strange series in that how do you top ever bigger demons, like with ever bigger demons, and after a while it gets kind of retarded towards the end of the whatever it was called series, when I don't know, maybe I shouldn't spoil it, but when they were fighting the Kushan Emperor and shit, like he turned into this massive sky-altering super demon. And that was a bit over the top, I felt. But otherwise, I really like the series. I think it has a lot of cool elements. I like Gatsu's character is pretty cool, and when I was younger, I thought I didn't like big burly men with axes and shit, but or axes and swords, and just berserk type archetype, basically, or barbarian archetype maybe. But as I've grown older, I've kind of had to reevaluate that. I really like both Conan and Berserk are really, really cool. Like Conan is I don't know if you've read the I don't know who published it, but it's an old comic from like the 80s maybe of Conan, which is pretty good. It's kind of like in a dark fantasy-ish vein. Obviously that's Conan, but it was well drawn and whatnot, and I really liked it. Twitch Gav says, "When did you discover you liked big, burly, shirtless, muscled men?" That's the obvious joke, you fool. Why do you make the obvious joke? It's like, I leave the goal entirely open. He's like, "I'm going to kick the ball into the goal." The ball, get it? The balls. Jeez, man. Raise your level. Raise your level, sir. Could we, says Entforg, make credos level gated? So if the credo requires no previous credos, it's always like 2 per level, but if it requires 5 credos, it will always require 10 quests per level. I read that as you don't like the current credo progression mechanics and want to change them. Take a number and get in line, sir. You're not the first spruce cap to come spruce capping around with this request around my part of these woods. I'm actually, if anything, I kind of like the linear progression, but I've considered reducing the amount of the quest increase to 1 quest per level per credo rather than 2 quests per level per credo. That's a thing that I've considered. And maybe also, when you do that, maybe also reduce the general power level of the credos a little bit to make them a little more optional. I could see that being a thing because I think it plays somewhat poorly. It's a tough call because on the one hand they were kind of designed to be things that were like you can never have all of them. On the other hand, I felt that they interacted a little bit poorly with the world reset because I'd put a fair amount of work into my credos last world, and I felt a little bit punished for that, so I have not been as active with that this world as I was last world, and I thought that sucked a little bit. So not sure. Not sure about that. One problem is like cooking credo means that you can never cook if there's a cook credo. Yeah, I agree with that too. It's also obviously always the problem with adding specialization stuff is that suddenly it becomes necessary, and I suppose that's not really the intention, but it's kind of hard to avoid as well. Divinity says, are you still of the mindset that questing in its current state is okay? I don't know. Like, I think the game is always going to be what it is. In that sense, it's okay. I think the game is better with questing than without. That being said, I'm not super perhaps... I mean, I can be awfully critical of the questing system if you want me to be. It's easy to be critical. And I think it could certainly generate more interesting quests. And maybe that should be a priority of ours. I don't know how you feel about quests. Should we work more on them? Because we certainly could. One of the things that I've always envisioned is having a conversation system. I would like to have that where you can actually converse with the quest givers and try to maybe negotiate the quest rewards that you're going to get and what kind of stuff like that. Or maybe even like negotiate the quests themselves, like negotiate details of how they can be completed and stuff like that. Holy cow, didn't you want to put a limit on how many quests you can do per day? If that's what you're talking about, then that's something we're still considering. Whoop, whoop. So we're still, but yes, I don't think it's healthy. If that's what we're talking about, then yeah, I agree. I don't think it's perfectly healthy that you have this incentive to quest away all the time. But I talked about that before. I think there's an interesting balance there to be struck between, on the one hand, everything is time gated. You can never ever progress beyond the time gates. So if you ever fall behind, you can never advance. You can never catch up to anyone because you're time gated and everything. That's one extreme, and another extreme could be you have to work. You can never take a break because one of the nice things about time gates is that they do allow you to take a break. You can just chillax and enjoy the environment. In Salem, I think Salem had the problem quite seriously at several points that you could never take a break. You had to do the grind all the time, or else you were falling behind. And I don't think. Sabinati says, I like the idea y'all were throwing around, like upgrading quest givers into local minor deities. Yeah, I like it too. I think it's a good idea, and I think I don't know how it interacts with like, because one of the things we had as an idea as well is that it could be fun if you can control quest givers, you know, and that's obviously something that people are doing. People are walling them off and shit, but I don't know. I'm a bit torn. I could see positives and negatives there, but it would be fun if the quest giver, if you could develop them, and but I also like the kind of open and public nature of quest givers. I like that they are in theory, at least, or in the normal case, available to pretty much anyone. So you're not just, you know, developing a quest giver that you and only your faction can use. I think, let me put it this way, I think it would be positive if there were incentives to keep quest givers public. And I think that's, you know, something obviously that could arguably be accomplished with a system for leveling them up. Let's say the leveling up was somehow a communal effort in a true and meaningful sense, and not just something that you could throw alts at. So, and Fork says, could we have a choice between 2 rewards based on will or lore? Maybe, yeah, something like that. I could definitely see like character roles based on charisma, where you could try to negotiate with the quest givers for various rewards, and yeah. Generally, I would like it. Maybe, I mean, this could be a pipe dream. And I mean, in the world of random generated content, you're obviously going to have a lot of, you know, not so impressive random generated content. But I mean, it would be an ideal if the quest givers were more interesting. If you could be made to, if they could be made to have more of a personality and be made to like produce more meaningful and involved quests that you maybe actually even care about, quests that are not just, I mean, this is a huge dream. I realize that's asking a lot. It would be, I think it's still a worthy design goal. Those are my thoughts on that. Vastiel Rydick says, why not make the quest rewards an item versus just giving the reward? Well, because we kind of wanted questing to be a personal experience. We didn't just want to I mean, I'm not saying that, I mean, some quest givers do give rewards in terms of items. You can get gilding leads and shit, and we could do more like that. I think there's definitely room to add more of like item type rewards. Generally, I think it would be great if there were like a myriad of different rewards that you could get. The more the merrier, I think. And yeah. It would also be fun if, like, I don't know, you could get a reward to, say, add an extra item slot to one of your artifacts or something to that effect. Try to not get attacked by the links. Are y'all keeping any sort of recorded list of quest giver rewards for this world to see how much local resources are increasing around the quest givers? We can produce that data, yes. There's a lot of data we can produce that we haven't really looked, and that we don't look in depth at, you know, perhaps every day. But we can produce data like that. Yeah. So I haven't looked at it recently, but we can certainly have a look at that. How about quest gives time buffs for raise char for it not just giving direct rewards? Says Firefly 7544. Yeah, that's a good, could be a good idea. So that you actually have to work for the reward rather than just be given it after having completed the quest. I could consider that. Let the quest givers be quality nodes, and every 1,000 quests completed increases local quality by 1. There's already a reward which increases local quality by sometimes more than 1. So we've already done that, sir. Where's the beach here? That's nice. Google used to pay people to try to take data they've collected and make it useful. They didn't give out many grants because it was so hard. That's interesting. Right on. Oh, you actually saw me in your follow list? That's cool. It actually matters how many followers I have. I have can't even see that. I have a bunch of followers. I have like 700-ish something followers. Feels great. Feels great. Thank you all for being here and following me. Where are we going? What are we doing? We're trying to work towards a claim. Vigilance 303A says Skybox 1. Well, if it were only the Skybox, then that could be added tomorrow. But we don't want to just add a Skybox where... Okay, what we don't want is this view with just an added Skybox. Okay, because that's just a little bit dumb. I mean, I could perhaps get behind that being better than nothing, but there are reasons for keeping the black as well. Because sometimes you can get into strange situations where you can kind of see through the ground and shit, and we wouldn't want, but I guess that's a pretty dumb argument. You shouldn't get into situations like that. I don't know. Okay, so adding the skybox would be the least of our problems, but what we would want to do is, of course, increase the rendering distance, because as you can see, if we zoom way out, Ethanar says, have you considered becoming a full-time Haven streamer and just let Lofter do all the artwork? Yeah, that could be fun. I have considered becoming a song and dance man on YouTube for shekels, but as you can see, I'm kidding, by the way. I'm not going to be a YouTube song and dance man. As you can see, the rendering distance is not particularly large. You can see the trees popping into rendering distance here, or popping into client knowledge range, and you can see the map moving along as well. And if we wanted, one of the things that this is a long-term goal that I would like to see fulfilled is that I would like to have an increased rendering distance, because I think one of the things that really is to Haven's detriment is that you're always looking down on the character from, if you play with the God intended view, then you play with this view, or even if you play with Cam Bad, you're kind of always, you're limited to what you see, or in what you see. So, and I think the game would benefit significantly from having an increased rendering distance. But that's kind of a tall order, because it will rendering distance affect performance dramatically? You bet, sir. I don't think we could push rendering distance much further. As it is. I mean, it's one of the things that increase the performance, or increasing the rendering distance definitely implies a big performance hit. So, hence it is a controversial topic. But I think it would add a lot to the game experience if you could actually, turn your eyes upward and look at the sky, because it would imply you seeing more of the landscape. You could see the lay of the land. I think Haven would be much more fun as a walking simulator if you could actually enjoy the scenery more, or enjoy the sights, if there were more sights to be seen. Because it's, as it is right now, walking around is kind of a claustrophobic experience, and that you're always walking around in your little box. Poaz69 says, please answer my cave critter idea. What was the idea? Was it just add more cave critters? Because I'm always up for adding more cave critters. So I don't know what the question was exactly. But I'm definitely a fan of more cave critters. Twitch Gap says Unity engine rewrite when hell freezes over. Balrogs when? Yeah, Balrogs could be fun. When we manage to strike a distance between a boss creature can't be killed, boss creature can't be killed fairly, player getting mad because they get their shit pushed in. Somewhere in there, we can add Balrogs. Because I don't want to add Balrogs and then, because this is what usually happens, is that we add a mean, nasty creature, and then, 4 pages into the update post, someone posts, the full loot list, basically, of what you can get from these creatures, because they've already found one and pushed its shit in. That I don't want, and I want it even less for. I mean, we caved on the wolves. Wolves, we'd held off on wolves for the longest time, thinking that we, wanted to wait until we can kill some players with it, but we caved and added them anyway. And sure enough, the loot list was published almost instantly. Damn, son! Damn, son! You gotta... Holy Cow says, it's because your combat system is shit. Thank you for bringing a positive mood to the stream, Holy Cow. Thank you for bringing your positive vibrations and thoughts here with you. I'm tempted to agree. I mean, the combat system isn't great, but... Why you gotta hate, though, bro? Why you gotta hate? Why you gotta be a hater? Why you gotta be a hater? Nice quill hands, Spruce Cap. Thank you. Bozdogan123 says, you should make a melee one-hand spear that has a bonus damage on people on horseback. Maybe. I'm a bit reluctant to add too many more weapons while the combat system is still trash. BMJ Clark says, why did you even change from Legacy's combat system? It was far better than our current one. Perhaps it was. We thought we had ideas that we wanted to try out, the combat deck being one of them, and we tried them out. So I can't say I would have done that differently. We didn't really just want to carbon copy re-add Haven's or Legacy's combat system. But I'm tempted to agree with your analysis that it was probably better. Is it possible to add visual display of branded animals? Anything is possible. Is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. What is this? What is this? Someone has been helping me. Can you explain why Lynxes, quite frankly, look retarded? Maybe not my strongest. Maybe not my strongest moment as an artist. There's not much more to it. I promise I will do better for you in the future. Maybe I will even try to look at the Lynx and try to redo it someday. But that day is not going to be today. Hand-holding degenerate says, I think a big flaw with the deck system is that tweaking it is sort of impossible as you are extremely limited to a deck, and hence you must create one that covers all grounds and doesn't allow for unique or creative things. Okay, well, I'll put it this way. I think one of the drawbacks that I found with Legacy's system was that you had all attacks available to you always, at all times. I thought that was kind of dumb. I don't know. Maybe you're right, maybe I'm right. Athenar says, what Haven asset is your favorite that you've made, and what is your least favorite? I like the walruses. I think they're pretty well made. I also think the mammoth is decent. I think the troll has a lot going for it. Maybe not in terms of perfect execution or whatever, but I think the fact that the trolls have variable body parts, I think is kind of fun. My least favorite, I don't like the fox hat. I don't like the lynx. I don't... what else don't I like? There are definitely things. I don't like the swan cape. Is horrid. Those are some that I don't like. There are definitely others. Like the maple. We talked about the maple. We talked about the heredity of the maple earlier. Hardhouse TV says, maybe I'm right. Here's a hint. That statement never resolves the truth. Damn, son. You telling me like it is tonight, aren't you, Ardens? He's just laying it on thick and heavy, thick and hot and heavy. Ardens is giving it to me. I'm like, yes, Ardens, give it to me. Jeez. Here, I could be having a nice, calm, quiet Sunday evening, But no, I'm here with Ardennes. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, shit. The best part was when several people on the forum seemed legitimately upset that I jokingly called someone a spruce cap. Hello, Iron GT. Iron GT. Iron GT. Du vill ha en GT, din GT. Gin and tonic. Do you try out the various custom clients ever, or do you only use default? I'm a default man. Always been a default man, except in Legacy where I used Ender's client, because the resolution thing in Legacy was frankly too much even for me. But other than that, I play the default client. I should probably try other clients out, but I haven't been bothered. Be honest, says Sentet69. Are you scared of the effort it would take to animate a large spider mob? We have slimes. Why not cave spiders? Come on. No, not at all. Animating spiders is actually not hard. They have 8 legs, but it's effectively just a set of just a bunch of normal legs walking in in synchronicity with each other. So it's not at all hard to animate. Why? Thank you. He gave me all this kind of stuff. So this is the thing, like, now I get all these kind of freebie stuff, and suddenly, is this a representative game experience anymore? Could it ever be? Could it ever hope to be? So no, it's not at all. I made a spider mob that I was reasonably happy with for Salem. So I'm not at all scared of the animation part. That would be relatively easy. Certainly doable. But, I've done lobster and shit, and crab, and don't you worry about that, bro. And I'm not apodictically opposed to adding cave spiders. It's just that they're such a trope. They are such a trope. It's the same reason we don't have fightable rats. Okay, so we have fightable ants, and arguably, if you can fight ants, then shouldn't you be able to fight rats? And isn't that like the most RPG-ish creature that you could ever fight ever? Yeah. Those are the questions we ask ourselves on a daily basis here. But at the same time, like, would I be totally opposed to adding, like, cave rats that you could fight? No, I wouldn't. That could be fun. So, a bit torn on that. And same goes for cave spiders. And it's also like, okay, so you get, spider silk, and, well, yeah. You can see that, where that leads pretty fast. Journey75 says, what program do you use for 3D modeling? Glorious Blender. Glorious Blender. I can't recommend it enough. I think I'm probably at least one version behind now, but I can't recommend Blender enough. It's free. It's very intuitive. I find it has a great user interface. You can customize it to your heart's delight. Just great. I can't speak highly enough of it. I love it. It's one of the preciously few times when it's like you come in contact with a piece of software and you instantly like it. It's very rare for me. Usually never happens, but Blender is one of those rare occasions. So I can't speak highly enough of it. I don't. There are probably deeper mysteries of the 3D modeling science that escape me, but I frankly don't understand why anyone would ever use a proprietary system when Blender is available. That boggles my mind. And especially, I've talked about this before, so I'm probably repeating myself, but sometimes that's necessary. But the installations for 3D Studio Max and Maya, last time I checked, were like these, multi-gigabyte bloatware installations. Not sure if this is true anymore, but it's my impression when that one time I did install them. And whereas Blender is like, I don't know what it's up to now, but like then I think it was like 50 megs, and now maybe, I don't know, 200, like nothing. And I don't just, it's dumb, bro. Plus you have to pay for the other programs. So no, sir, I like Blender quite fine, thank you. It does everything I want it to do. Laser says, can Blender be bridged to DAZ Studio? Haven't investigated that, so I couldn't tell you that. Sinking Knar Wreck instead of Poof. Yes, Robin Hood 293211. We discussed that earlier. I made a note of that. Alexander 1718 says, did you find out if bodies stay afloat in the ocean or do they just decay faster? Maybe that. I haven't looked at that yet. We're gonna look at that. Oops. Jorb, you goofed the window. Did I? What window did I goof? Looking at the stream, it seems fine. Please inform me if I goofed the window. Yeah, I mean, Blender is open source. The Magic Man ICT makes a good point here. Blender is open source, so if you really want to port it, you can port it to anything if it's really important to you. That being said, I don't know if there's an easily available plugin that does it for you, but if you want to, you can certainly import it. I'm hungry. My tummy is growling. I'm hungry. I didn't have enough to eat. I'm going to have something to eat when I'm done with this. And then I'm going to go to bed because it's going to be late. It's going to be late, y'all. Any ideas to change the ranged weapon system? I love using bows in Legacy, where now I feel they are very lackluster. What is it that you don't like about them? What was better in Legacy? The fact that they did a lot more damage? Because bows go in a cycle where they're too good and then we nerf them, so they're too bad, so we buff them, and then they're too good, so we nerf them. And I'm not even sure where on the cycle we are these days. I think they're probably pretty bad, right? Yeah. Official Ramsey says, Never Neverland just made another Coronation Stone and got their buffs back easily. Any comments? That's good for them. I mean, we were aware that that was a possibility. If you feel that they were punished lightly, I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm not sure I don't agree with that. You could go back and forth on that, but we've made our decision. I'm not going to brood on it. We did what we did. It felt like a good idea at the time. If it was too little, okay, maybe it was. I don't know. Your game is frozen on the stream. God damn it. Is it? Really? Oh, yikes. That what you meant by goofing the window. Yeah, looking at the stream doesn't look fine at all. Funny. I didn't mean to do that. So if I do that, what happens? What do we get on the stream then? Oh, maybe that's how I goofed it. Maybe what if I do that? How I done goofed. There we go. Bam, back in business. Sorry about that, boys. I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, really? Oh, right. Would it be possible to track enemies while aiming instead of manually clicking where to shoot? Anything is possible. How do you think applying auto harvest feature in default client to dream catchers too? Yeah, I just think dream catchers kind of have a retarded mechanic, truth be told. I think there are a lot of things they use as like 2 dreams completely unnecessarily, like certain curios they use like 2 dreams, and it's just no point in them using 2 dreams. So I'll make a note of that. Like the aiming system more, and while the damage was much better, also hunting was so much easier with ranged weapons. Manual aiming with the bow and the ortho cameras quite frankly aids, and without custom clients it's not potentially worth it unless you click on the portrait. Yeah, maybe. What is the entry about sinks? Sinks for various sinks for certain in-game items like hides and boards and blah blah blah. Blah. I think there are a lot of them that could use more uses. Could use more uses. Airbet says, "Will you ever integrate ranged combat to the current melee system?" We tried that, but we didn't like how it played out. I like the fact that you can just shoot an arrow randomly in a direction. Arguably, it could be a nice thing if the combat system allowed you to throw punches in a direction without having an opponent. So no, we didn't like how it played out when it was integrated. It was originally our first take on it for the new Haven. It was integrated with the melee system. We didn't like that. So. But maybe we were right, and that always resolves to no. So maybe we were wrong, and maybe we're wrong about everything. Who knows? What's the next big content you're planning? Depends on what you mean by next big content. I'm mentally kind of holding out for Frederick to finish the client rendering rewrites so that we can actually start working on something meaningful, such as object control objects and bridges and walls that you can walk on and ships that you can walk on and other cool things. But that aside, we're hypothetically maybe working on seasons. So that's, I don't know if that counts as content. What counts as content? Only stuff that you can interact with. Can we get some box art in the Twitch TV game category section? Yeah, sure. Box art. Twitch TV game category. We'll try to look at that. We'll try to look at that. Anyone else having an issue hearing Jorb? Maybe. I don't know. Is anyone? Hope not. I can hear myself just fine. Maybe that's the only thing that matters. Maybe me and my hallucinations are fine, just as we are. Maybe we don't need you. Maybe you don't even exist. Maybe solipsism is true. Maybe there's a fun lore. There's a fun lore, and there are a lot of fun lores, but there's one fun lore in Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, where there's a solipsistic reasoning like that. It's like, what if I'm just a jar in a vat somewhere, dreaming that I'm a real person, blah, blah, blah. And it says, like, research notes on experiment 74321 is cited as the source then. Termination is advised. It's pretty fun. Should definitely play it. It's one of the most well-written games ever, which is kind of fun because it's a sci-fi strategy game, but it's really, really well-written, and I think it's actually philosophically interesting at times, which is not common. So yeah. Saxony says Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri best Civ aside from Civ 3. I really liked Civ 4. I spent a lot of time on Civ 4 and I really enjoy that. So but Civ 3 was good as well. I haven't really played Sid Meier. Avu says better than all other Civs. Arguably lore-wise, it's better than all the other Civs. I agree with that. It's really well written. A lot of good characters and good writing, and a lot of good things to be said for it. And even some of the gameplay is great. Like the building system is kind of fun, and there's a lot of good things going for it. AC was peak lore. Yeah, it was. I agree. I didn't like the expansion though. Alien Crossfire. I thought that was kind of corny actually. I really didn't like Alien Crossfire. I thought that was honestly terrible. I liked the worm followers that they introduced in Alien Crossfire. I thought those were cool. But other than that, I thought Alien Crossfire was really, really corny and dumb. And yeah. So, but that aside, let's not have that cast a shadow over. Also, Sister Miriam Goodwinson, whatever she's called. Man, wow, what a woman! What a woman! A woman of everyone's dreams. So crazy. She's just awesome. She's just awesome. So many great quotes. But they have missed the greater conundrum. Why would a perfect God create a universe at all? Journey 75 says, can we have a gallows that acts akin to the gravestones? I realize using it to punish people may be a stretch. So you can a gallows that you can just bury someone in to have them hanging there permanently. Let me recall Berserk, and because Gatsu was, according to the lore of Berserk, he was born from a hanged woman, a woman hanged in a tree. It's pretty dark. It's pretty grim dark, yo. It's pretty freaking grim dark. But I wouldn't, like, if we're gonna add gallows, then there's no point in adding gallows if you can't gallowate people in them. If you can't actually use them on people. And I wouldn't mind that. So. You still have 20 minutes to change minimap pavement textures, just for your information. XRSP says, ironically, it seems like a chapter got released today. Did you read it? No, I didn't. A chapter got released today? Seriously? I don't know. I'm waiting for the collection of the chapters. You know, the ones that are numbered from like 0 or like from 1 to 40. I think is the one that I haven't read, and 40 I think, according to Wikipedia, was only available in Japanese. So no, I haven't read it. No, if it was released today, I'm pretty excited though. So kind of want to see where the story goes. I really want to know if the Casca is going to get her mind back and all that. Sorry, this Spitros doesn't have 3,000 pepper. That's funny. Eden234 says, what about whale skulls? Any feature implemented yet, or you forgot about it? Forgot about it. / haven't thought of a good one. I considered. Let's see if I can derp around with that. I considered. Can you see me now? Yeah, good. We didn't fuck up everything. Considered making it so that what's it called? Oh. Considered making it so that you can attach it to the front of a Knar. What do you think about that? Or maybe make a special whale bones boat. That could actually be cool. A whale bones boat. But it introduces unfortunate... it's just a small fix, whale bones boat. Or like content. Large. Content. Boom. Laser says, Pew says, are you looking forward to Game of Thrones Episode 3? Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to air my hatred of Game of Thrones. That kind of light porn shit, just terrible writing, terrible everything, that is just not for me. I can't stand the little fat goblin who wrote it, R.R. Martin, whatever he's called. I can't stand him. Can't stand his... just this attempt to write some sort of shitty Machiavellian fantasy, but it's just really just modern degenerate people thrown into a medieval tapestry or whatever. It's just, no, I just hate it. I have no kind words for Game of Thrones. Sorry. I realize that everyone likes it. It was also the fucking soft porn thing just bothers me. It's like, why not just watch real porn if you want to go down that road? And that's not something I'm advocating either. It's just, no. Game of Thrones be gone. Martin is just making a fantasy version of War of the Roses, though. Except 100,000% more ugly fucking dragons and no. No. How far are you guys on the client let me be clear. I've watched the first episode of Game of Thrones, and that was enough for me. I dipped out at that point. I didn't want to watch it anymore. I didn't like it. It was not to my tastes. Generally, I mean, fuck, I don't know. Fantasy is kind of corny in general, so, which is odd because it's a genre that I really should like and whatnot. But I don't know. Holy Cow says, "Have you read books though?" No. I've read one of them, but again, I wasn't impressed. I don't know. I'm not trying to take away from you that maybe you like this and maybe you think it's great and whatever. You can think that. You'd be wrong, but you're allowed to think that. But also I realize that since I haven't really read much Game of Thrones, I realize that my critique of it is not worth much, and that's fine. Let's just say that I wasn't pulled in by it, and what I've seen of it and the hype around it doesn't make me intrigued to find out more. Alvu says, "We already know you have no taste, Jorb. It's okay." Thank you. Likewise, cat. I'll see you in hell. Mother. Everyone likes their own things. I dislike Harry Potter. I dislike Harry Potter too. I think Harry Potter is absolute trash. Harry Potter is trash, and I think J.K. Rowling is she's not particularly impressive either. Yeah, middle-aged soap opera with boobs. That is such a beautiful summation of so much of the Netflix genre in general. Like, I was watching Boardwalk Empire. Me and someone near and dear to me, we were watching Boardwalk Empire. Interesting for a while. But then, the obvious things are coming. The soft lesbian porn, the gruesome ultra-violence, to the point where it actually bothers me. Just not for me. I don't need that in my life. So, are we back on echo mode? Fuck. Are we back on echo? I'm not that. If we're back on echo, no. If we're back on echo, we're calling it quits. But good, awesome, we're fine. Awesome, good, great. Tarek Salma says, "How far are you guys on the client rewrite? Like about percentage-wise?" I'd say 90% maybe. There are two major things left. One-ish minor item, and two major. Are we still gonna read CNI threads? We didn't really get to that. Shit, time flies. Let's do a couple. Carrying light. We're on page 87. So this is 87 pages back is where I've read everything and replied to pretty much everything. So we're back on April 2018. So this is 1 year ago. Carrying light. I've literally not had this experience in about a year. I had this one recently. Boom. We replied to a CNI thread. I'm gonna go back. Oh no, I did open it. So, village banner placement tool. Hello, says Sinjin. It would be very helpful if there was some sort of highlight or outline for village banners area of effect during their placement selection. Really sucks to count tiles. That's good. That's a good idea. I like that one. We'll make a note of it. Small. We like that one. Good idea. +1. Vastiel Rydick says, can you look at the Lighthouse thread? That's a recent thread from 2019, right? Yeah, I'm going to look at it real soon, buddy. I'm going to get to it real soon. Alexander1718 says, do you have like a roadmap, or do you just decide on things on the get-go? We have a loose roadmap, I'd say, but we also improvise a lot. So, ability to see exp event cooldowns when doing Mystic. Oof, boy. No, sir. No way. No way. Sabinati says, we would like to see some actual discussion, not empty +1 posts. Well, I think the +1 posts are a little bit less empty when I make them, right? They're a bit more meaningful, wouldn't you agree? Suggestions regarding per-food, fishing, fibers, and more. Oof, boy. A wall of text, grab, suggest, grab thread. Wow, this is a doozy right here. This is the thread. This is the thread for me. This guy's 15 damn. Goddamn. So this is the reason. This if you're wondering why I'm behind on my forum reading, this is the reason. Like, man, it's just. And also stuff like this. Like, I found the variety of perception food. Like, we're like 3 sentences in, and we haven't gotten to anything concrete. I need an executive summary. So basically, he wants fishing curiosities, perception food, wicker picker, a lot of stuff, and a lot of wall of text. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so that was a nice reply, wasn't it? Truffle mushrooms and pig trained to look for them. Ah, this is an easy one. This is an easy one. Has since been added. Yeah, considering is a lot of fun. We consider a lot of things around here. Automated extraction press, says Chris. I mean, I'm not against this suggestion per se, but I don't know. How do you guys feel how does chat feel about automated extraction press? Is it relevant? Should I spend time on this? I don't know. It seems very marginal. Ranger's Cape, says Jorb. That's fine. Fair. I'll consider that. What do you say? Fold down, fold down. Yeah. Official Ramsey likes it. Yeah, it seems marginal. I feel more strongly about banning Jorb as something. Quality for crime. This was a fun segment though. Doing critique and ideas threads was a fun segment. We should do. I should have gotten to this earlier in the stream. This is fun. And I can have the chat with me for glorious instant feedback on what we're. This is fun. We're gonna do this more in the future. Yeah, I will consider. William had made a note of it. We'll consider it for a second. Well, you know, what do you mean for video proof you don't read? F you. We read it through. We read the effing thing. God damn it. Jesus Christ. Not even when we're reading, we get shit for reading. For not reading. Engraved middle finger. A rune stone shaped like a middle finger. For people you fucking hate, of course. Imagine dropping one of these off outside your enemy's base. Wouldn't mind a few more shapes too. I'm wondering what kind of shapes he could be referring to. No, I don't know. I mean, Edgy AF says, oh shit. Dong stone. He wants the dong stone. Yeah. How do you feel about this idea, chat? Was it a good idea? Did Op put enough time into his idea? Let's see what we have on Op. See what we have on Op. We have so much shit on Op. This is one of my favorites. Dear Diary, today Op was an enemy of the people. Oh, Jesus. Oh, shit. Oh, there's a common theme here. Oh, God. All right. Where were we? How do you feel about this one? You're gonna get Twitch banned for this, am I? Oh, goodness. Jeez, I didn't know it was sensitive. Y'all. I mean, I like more. Zented69 says, what about a 1 hour stream halfway through the month where you just do this part so we can only discuss ideas and critiques? Yeah, maybe. Bozdogan says, how about you took the 3D models of items and just changed the texture to that of rocks? Well, that's easier said than done, sir. It's easier said than done. I mean, we've talked about that. It would be fun to have like statues in general of like animals, but then you get into questions of like, okay, so can you pose the animals as well? So like, do we add 1 million poses for each animal? Blah blah blah. And I guess like doing some of that could be better than doing nothing of it, but it's a bit of work, quite simply. What about random statues used to put in the world? Are they still a thing? I believe they're still a thing, yes. I think we've added those to this world as well. So make Ranger Cape useful. We have more on the Ranger Cape. I would like the Ranger Cape to be a cape slot only, with an optional decoration on the head that conceals the user. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much what our friend Shubla suggested. Maybe I should just merge this. Oh, I can't be bothered. Cannot be bothered to merge it. No. I'm not even going to reply. Well, should I reply? I don't know if there's any point in bouncing up all these, necroing all these dead threads. The good old days of tea. Tea used to restore twice as much stamina as water. Is tea just terrible these days? Buff tea, maybe? Buff tea, chat? Buff tea? Should be buff tea. What do you think about that, chat? consider. Scenarios, we're making a ton. This is a straight up will consider thread. Oops. I've actually, this one I think I have saved somewhere with villains. Yep, I already have your little thread. Boom, already have your little thread, sir. All I want is string, yeah. Yep. Yeah, what about diseases? What about it? I'll bounce up your little thread. I'll bounce it up to the top. You get to be on top. Ooh, all puns intended. Ooh, button to dump all seeds in granary. What do you think about this one, chat? Ants wants a button to add all seeds of a certain type to the granary. Ugh, I don't know. I don't want to add buttons for every little thing. Something like that, maybe. We'll consider this post as well. I'll put it on the list. Boom. Whew. Jeez, that was work. So as you can see, going through these threads and replying to them is a lot of work. Hence, I have, or is a fair amount of work. It takes some time, and hence we have this terrible backlog. But that is what it is. Also, we've been going for about 2 hours here. Time flies when you're having fun. I thought this was fun. I like the going through critique and ideas thread. We could do that a little bit more. We didn't get to. I was actually going to make. We were going to make this hat, but we never got to that. So I'll have to make that myself. No Streamlabs. What are Streamlabs? All reckless. So if you have any final questions, you can feel free to throw them into the hat. But other than that, I think we're going to call it a night somewhere around here. And I'm going to thank you all for bearing with me and for playing the game and for watching the fun little stream we had here. And for hopefully being mildly entertained by it and hopefully having some of your pertinent questions answered. Dakan says, what is your favorite source of carbohydrates? In terms of taste, I like pasta. But I'm not advocating that for health reasons or whatever. I don't really know about that. Milk is great. I like milk. There's a lot of carbs in milk. But yeah. What are the planned uses for salt water? Says Official Ramsey. No, none really. I mean, you can use them for tanning and stuff. But other than that, why doesn't last Credo buff from cook work on baked products? We'll consider all of it. Will you make each cave biome meaningful, or will they all be more or less the same when you start filling them in? Hopefully we can make them meaningful. That's at least the intention of adding them, is that they should be meaningful, and have varied spawns and varied forageables and shit. So there's definitely fleshing out to be done there. Any plans on cave goblins? I remember you liking that idea a while back. I don't think I liked the cave goblins idea. I think cave goblins are a bit too much, I don't know, green skin fantasy trope for me. I'm not a huge fan of goblins per se. That being said, goblins in the traditional sense of what a Swedish vette would be. That would be closer to something that I could consider. But those aren't really goblins in the Warhammer sense. So I don't know. What about making the game levels like hell with dangerous creatures, bosses? Yeah, I mean, deeper levels should be more dangerous. I don't know about hell, but magma could be a thing. New race dogman, says Sabinata. You know it, buddy. Coming soon. Scented 69 says variable animal genders and ages coming soon, right? Bears spawning in family groups and so on. It could be mildly interesting. I think bear cubs as a slightly less dangerous version of bear could be interesting. Or / stone creatures brood our borne, says hand holding degenerate. I don't know about that. I don't know about meteorite men. I don't know if that's fun. But, oh well, we're gonna call it a night here, boys and girls. Yeah, this was fun. April stream. Yeah, what else can you say? It was fun. I'll talk to you all later, and I'm always on the forums. Even though I have a healthy disrespect for the critiquing ideas threads, I do try to respond to my private messages. So this is not a recommendation to write all your critiquing ideas in a private message, because that's not going to work out either. So please don't private message me your critiques and ideas. But I try to be more available there if you really want something that's really important. But try to make it important. Don't just shoot me a PM about bullshit. So yeah. More cave flora and fauna soon, please. Levels 5 to 10 are boring. That's a good point, Scented 69. We'll definitely consider that one. Dakin says, but I have lots of bullshit to share. I know that feeling, brother. I know that feeling all too well. All right, boys and girls, we're going to call it a night. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for watching the stream. It'll be on YouTube once I finish uploading it, blah, 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 blah. God bless you all. Have a very good night. I love you all. And, try to be gentle and loving to your fellow man. And be kind. Speak softly, for it is rain that causes flowers to grow and not thunder. Take care. I'll catch you all in May. Thank you all for playing and for caring and for posting your critiquing ideas threads and for supporting us, supporting the game and everything. Catch you in May, boys and girls. Sleep tight when you do. Good night.